So you want to be a game master? Excellent. Come on in, pull up a chair, take a load off. Today, I am going to move you closer to your first game session. And we're going to talk about what to do about all those damn rules. Right after this. Howdy, gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, we are going to be talking about role-playing game rules as they apply to you as you get closer to your first game session. Usually, session 0 is a character creation session, unless you're allowing your players to create their characters at home without your watchful eye, which is completely up to you. Actually, as a brand new game master, dungeon master, keeper, referee, whatever you want to consider yourself, I don't recommend allowing the players to roll up their characters at home. Just something that you want to oversee because you're going to want to set the tone of your game table early rather than later. That's something we'll talk about in a future video. So I have been running role-playing games for over 40 years. Yes, I know, I'm old. But I will mention I was a pretty small kid when I got started, so I'm not that old. Regardless, I have picked up things along the way. I want to share some thoughts, some ideas. So that's why I've put together this series of videos. Now, the last time out, we talked about how to choose the right role-playing game for yourself and your group. We're going to build on that today. Let's assume you've selected a role-playing game that you're going to run. Maybe it's 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe it's Traveler. Could be Pathfinder 2nd edition. Could be my personal favorite, which I have run since 1981. Call of Cthulhu. Love. Regardless, you've selected the game that you're preparing to sit down at the game table with yourself and your group of friends or coworkers or maybe even strangers. First thing you're going to want to do is you are going to want to familiarize yourself with the rules of the game. Now, last video, we talked a little bit about what's known as crunch. And to recap real quickly, the more mechanics, the more mechanisms, the more rules systems that a role-playing game has, the crunchier it is. The fewer mechanics, the fewer ways of resolving actions, that's considered to be a rules-light game. Now, regardless of what role-playing game you've chosen, regardless of how crunchy those rules are, you are going to have to memorize some rules. And I know one of the most daunting aspects of being a game master is thinking you've got to memorize an entire core rule book. And a lot of games out there, they've got more than one rule book to run the game. 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is a perfect example of that. Pathfinder 2nd edition, a little bit, because you probably need to pick up at least a bestiary with the monsters as well. But don't sweat the rules. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you there's only one way for you to play a role-playing game wrong. There's only one way for you to run a role-playing game wrong. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll share that with you. All right, so what I always recommend, there's a few highlights in the rule books that you're going to want to be comfortable with. You don't have to be memorizing it verbatim. Just be comfortable with it. First of all, character creation. You want to be able to lead your players in creating their characters. Once again, you don't need to know everything about it. Just have a good idea about it. And if you run into something that needs to be looked up, then look it up. A lot of times, player character creation can take anywhere from 10 minutes for a game that probably doesn't have a ton of rules, doesn't have a lot of attributes or feats or skills and things like that, all the way up to 2 hours or more. All depends, a lot of times, on the game system that you're using, the role-playing game you've selected. Once again, you don't need to memorize everything about character creation. Now, as far as the mechanics, as far as the rules of the game, all you really need to be comfortable with to get started is the main way you resolve actions, be it investigation or, charisma, persuading people to do things, talking people into doing things you want them to do, combat. All of those things, depending on how they are resolved, you're going to want to have an idea of how those rules work. So I'll use 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons as an example. It is mechanically, it's not truly a D20 game because you are utilizing other dice rather than a 20-sided die. But for the most part, most of your resolution is based on the results of 1 or 2 20-sided dice. If you have advantage or disadvantage, you're actually going to roll 2 20-siders. So most of your resolution revolves around a D20 or 2 D20s. That's all you need to really be comfortable with. In fact, one of the reasons why 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is much easier for people to get into and wrap their heads around is because of that advantage and disadvantage. There are a lot of role-playing games that now utilize that as well, because previously it was always modifiers. Oh, well, you're going to get a +2 in these circumstances. And, okay, now it's a -1. Okay, so I'm going to give you a +4 on that. And it's a -5. A lot of, math in your head. A lot of players were sitting there going, all right, carry the 1. Wait, and the advantage, disadvantage makes things very easy. So that's something that you need to be aware of. There's different action resolution with the difficulty numbers, the DCs, as well as, of course, combat. Once again, combat is resolved using 20-sided dice. So you want to be familiar with that. Give you another example. Call of Cthulhu. It is a percentile system. So you're, for the most part, going to resolve actions anytime there's a question of whether someone succeeds or fails at something, task resolution. You're going to be rolling 2 10-sided dice. One is the tens, one is the single digits, and it's going to provide you with a number of 1 to 100. And then you're going to utilize that number looking at skills, so on and so forth. So as an example, if I had a skill that was at a 50, that means I have a 50% chance of succeeding under normal circumstances. And I roll my percentile dice and I got 50 or less, then I would succeed. Now, the newer edition of Call of Cthulhu has gotten a little crunchier as far as, in my opinion, as far as action resolution, because it uses advantage, disadvantage, but then it also has difficulties. So you'll have a percentage of your skill for something that's hard, and you'll have another percentage where it's something very difficult. So once again, You just have to get a feel for the action resolution. You don't need to know every single rule in the system to get started and to have fun, especially when you're playing with a group of players who've never played the game either. I'm going to give you a great example, because if you've ever played a role-playing game with more than one game master, you have probably sat at a table where the action came to a screeching halt because the game master had to stop and look up a rule. So I'll give you a great example. Let's say I'm running Call of Cthulhu, and my group of investigators are being chased down this path towards the ocean, and they're being chased by these hybrid fish-human things. Deep ones, but they don't know that they're deep ones yet, right? Because they're new. They're new investigators. They haven't, like, I don't know, what are these things? So they're being chased, and some are more human than others, and some are fully developed deep ones, and they're croaking, as they're chasing, and some of them are actually running, and some of them are kind of like hopping, and it's just scare the pants off of people. Of course, you're always asking, so what are they doing? Okay, this happens now. What do you do? So let's say it gets to the point where the investigators are running. They get to a dock. They're running down the dock, hoping that maybe there's a boat. Maybe there's a motorboat. Maybe they can try to escape. And I've got these deep ones. Some of them are chasing them down the dock. Others are diving into the water. And then they find, oh my gosh, there is a boat. And they jump in, and they're, you're trying to get the pull string or whatever, to turn over the outboard motor, and it starts up. And then suddenly, I don't know the rules for nautical navigation or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, hang on. Hold on a second. Let's see. Look at the index here. Okay, doesn't say naval. Let's see, boats. No. All right, I'm pretty sure it's in this one section here. Hang on. Oh, you know what? It's in the other rule book. Hold on. Look at the index here. Okay, here it is. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. Hang on. Okay, here it is. Okay, I got it. Now, wouldn't that just bring all of the action to a screeching halt? You don't want to be doing that. Trust me. At no point, regardless of what game you're playing, what game you're running, you will never have a knock on the door and open the door and find Jeremy Crawford or Sandy Peterson or anyone else affiliated with any of the role-playing games out there standing on your doorstep mad that you're running their game incorrectly. It's never going to happen. I know there are loads of people out there. They've got tons of kind of clickbaity videos, and it's your, 5 ways to play Dungeons and Dragons the right way, or 10 ways your dungeon master's doing things wrong. The best way to play Call of Cthulhu, bar none. Whatever. I'm telling you right now, the game is your game. Use the rules you want to use. Throw the rules you don't want to use away. Give you a great example. So, going back to the chase with the deep ones, at that point in time, me personally, if I did not know the rules for naval actions, right, nautical actions, anything like that, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to wing it based on the core mechanics of the game. So I might start just having the players rolling some percentile dice, basing it off of some of their skills or maybe some of their attributes, whatever. I don't want the action of the game to break down simply because of a rule. And I know like I said, there are a lot of people out there who are going to tell you, you are not running your game correctly. Don't listen to them. Because as I mentioned, there is only one way that you know you are playing a role-playing game wrong, you are running a role-playing game wrong. And that is, no one around the table is having a good time. If they're having a good time, if you're enjoying yourself, you're running that game perfect. So it's important to keep in mind, don't overwhelm yourself with rules. You are not giving exams. You are running a role-playing game. Enjoy it. All right. That is it for this video. On my next video, we are going to get into Session 0, creating player characters. I hope you'll join me for that as well. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this, it'll also tell you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube as I bring you the latest in tabletop gaming news. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. That's it for this time out. Thank you for joining me. And as I wrap up all of my videos during this never-ending pandemic, I certainly hope all of you out there are being smart and staying safe. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and everybody please wear a mask.